Okay.
Hi, welcome back for another session of Single Mom's Guide to Life, Spotlight, Mentors, Coaches, and Resources. Today, I have with me Carmen Rosas. Carmen is a mama bear, attorney, and legacy coach. She's an estate planning and small business law attorney who helps moms protect their greatest assets, their children, and their businesses. As a legacy coach, she helps moms reach new heights in their lives and their businesses to build and live a legacy they're proud of. Carmen helps women with all their family legal needs and also up-level their lives so they aren't settling. She guides them to design both legal documents and a life that suits their unique circumstances to allow them to work towards their dreams and create legacies they dream of for themselves, their families, and their businesses. Welcome, Carmen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Like I was saying, I'm such a fan of, I am a vibration person. I am a feels and an energy person, and I just like your style. Like I really would. I just like your style. I like how you show up. I like how you're authentic. So thank you so much for honoring us and honoring me with your presence today. In your
Thank you. Thank you.
I've read a little bit about your bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself. What's the intent behind being, Carmen Rosas Esquire and a legacy coach? Because there's a lot of soul in your work.
There is. And, so when I first started my practice, I was, your general attorney. I just did legal work. And then I had my daughter about 18 months ago. And, a few months before she came into the world, it was just like, am I living a life that she would be proud of? Like, am I that role model that, I want to be for her? Am I somebody that she can look up to? Because here I am about to raise a human being and I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I'm still trying to get my life together. And so I started, digging deep, really got into more personal development and just my spirituality essentially, and realized I need to make some shifts in my life. I like estate planning. I love helping people. Like, I'm a helper, a problem solver. That's what I do. But there was a part of me that wasn't feeling fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, I dug deeper and I was like, I can help other women, because I'm sure there's tons of other women that are in my same position, whether they've given up dreams or whether, they've kind of settled and like, I just need to take care of my kid or my children, and that's it. And I wanted to make more of a difference, make more of an impact. And so I started shifting and, just being more true to myself and stepping away from what people expected as an attorney, what they expected me to look like or be like or act like. And, even when I was in law school, I was far from the, traditional attorney, and I was, just a wild one. And I'm still like that, very, carefree. I'm just a free spirit, and I don't like being restricted to, I guess, a box or, society's standards. And so I wanted to open up my practice and expand it so that I can not only help moms protect what they already have so they feel secure in what they've already established or what they're building, whether it's their business or, they're rising up the corporate ladder, but protecting their children so their children are taken care of, but then also protecting their souls and feeding that soul. And that's how the legacy coaching came in. And I was like, how do I help other women, dig deep and figure out what their purpose is in life? And so that's how I ended up doing the legacy coaching. And I'm still working through it because it is a new approach to, I guess, law and estate planning. And there aren't, I don't think, any attorneys that are doing it the same way that I am doing, but I love it. And it's made me love my practice even more and just have a deeper appreciation for, my law degree and the legal system that I'm in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everything you said, I so resonate with, and like I told you when I first spoke with you, just reading through and I know you're going through a big rebrand and kind of spinning things so that they're a little bit more authentic and aligned with your visions and your values and where you want to take your company. But what I felt, even just reading the about page on your existing website, was so much soul. I mean, literally, it was like And look, I've been through my custody battle, so I've read a lot of legal about sections. And I'm like, she has, there was a warmth and there was a humanness. And there was like, I would hire you for anything, because it was like, that's a lot of times in legal, it's very stale. And so you definitely get a feel for who you are when you read through your about section. And so I've always resonated with that. One thing that you said that I totally can hang my hat on is you said, you had your baby 18 months ago and was just like, I don't know, like, you don't know how to, how do I navigate any one of these things? I don't know how to be a mom. I don't know how to be a single mom, if that's what I'm going to be. Yeah. I don't know how to be in a relationship. You don't know how this life, and out of that feeling, that exact space that you're in is why I have Single Mom's Guide to Life, because I am a very analytical person. I research everything. I read every book I could get my hands on when I was pregnant. I listened to every podcast. I read every book. I tried to prepare myself, and then the baby got here, and I was like,
it's all out the window.
Yeah, I was like, I still don't feel prepared, and I've indexed and tabbed, and I have note cards, and like, I don't know, I just felt so insecure. And there's nothing, obviously it's a trial by fire. There's nothing that can prepare you for that. But that's why I have Single Mom's Guide to Life, is because there's not going to be a guidebook, but there are people that can guide the way, and there are resources and coaches that can guide the way, so I so much resonate with the reasoning for your business and how you came to kind of develop into who you are today. I so do. I know you have 3 themes today, and I'm not going to, normally I completely moderate this, but I'm going to kind of toss it to you. Okay. And allow you to tell me and teach me on these things, because it's foreign to me.
Totally.
So yeah,
okay.
Toss it
so the first one is building your business and protecting your assets. So a huge part of what I do, obviously, is the legal part of it, and that's protecting your assets, whether you have minors that you need guardianship for, or you have your other baby, which is your business, that you need to protect as well. So essentially protecting your assets. And what greater assets do you have other than your 2 babies, right? Or your children and your business. Mm-hmm. And so we work through, we work with women from like various stages, whether they're coming in just to protect their kids and appoint guardians, or they're coming in because they have kids and they're going through a nasty custody battle, or and they're also building a business, and from different walks of life. But the key, for protecting your children is appointing a guardian. If you have a minor, you don't want them to end up in there's a couple of things, especially being a single mom, right? You don't want them to end up in foster care. You want them to end up with someone who they love and they trust, because already losing a parent is enough. Mm-hmm. But if you are also in, a nasty custody battle, or the other parent isn't qualified.
I was like, yeah.
Is incapable of taking care of him, whether it's because they live somewhere far away, whether they're dealing with mental issues, whether they're dealing with substance abuse issues or something like that. I know in California, obviously I can't speak for other states, but in California, the other parent is immediately the guardian would be the next in place. So if that's the non-custodial parent. And essentially building a case for the judge. So, your parents or, a college friend or something of that sort can step in and act as guardians. And essentially, so there's not too much of a custody battle, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your child is protected. That they're nurtured and they're in a safe place where they feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of it is, of estate planning, is protecting your assets. If you own a home, you may need a trust to avoid probate and court fees and higher attorney fees. In California, it's 5% of the estate size is the cost of probate. And so that's fair market value. So the courts don't care that you have a mortgage that's, 90% of the value of your home. it is the fair market value. So if it's 1.2 million and you have, an $800,000 mortgage, your fair market is 1.2 and it's calculated at 5% of that amount. So it gets expensive and it's long. It goes out at least 6 months minimum, but with the courts and whatnot, it goes out to about a year and a half now before, you can get access to those assets. Yeah. Not fun. So creating a plan to protect your kids and then the assets that you build. Mm-hmm. Then we have your business part of it. So if you're building a business, regardless of where you're at, if you're a sole proprietor, LLC, those things, you have to protect it. Obviously, sole proprietorship, you have no protection. Like you are your business. And I actually just recently did a blog post a couple months ago on the different types of entities. It's called entity schmentity. Like, what does that mean? So we go over sole proprietorship, LLC, and corporations. And obviously there's the S Corp and the C Corp, and each of them provide their own liability things. But then, trying to figure out, well, do you go from a sole proprietorship to an LLC because of taxes? Like, is it going to be a tax benefit or is it going to be a tax burden to you? And are there alternate ways such as, getting liability insurance or, things of that sort, just basically piling on insurance and being a sole proprietor versus shifting to an LLC and having mandated taxes that get to be paid.
Right.
So we work with clients to kind of go through all of those, figure out what, the best situation is for them, because not every situation is exactly the same.
Right. I have one. So, and I'm asking so many questions, obviously from a personal standpoint, but also for our viewers out there. If I wanted to just kind of understand the first part of it, like what kind of entity is most advantageous or is the best position to put my business in, do you work through that too? Like, do you kind of give us the options, like, okay, you may want to do this, and this is what it would mean for you. This is what your tax burden would be. This is how you would have a benefit with some tax benefits, or...
Yeah. So I do walk through based on, obviously the type of business. If it's, some mom selling, hair bows at a farmer's market versus, a mom who is doing, personal training where there's like physical, there's exercises or things being done. So we walk through and we figure out, what would best work. And then what I like to do, because I don't do taxes, is I like to speak to either their tax person or suggest that they, get in touch with the tax person, or I have tax people that I will kind of chat with to figure out, okay, this is where they are income-wise, expenses, what is their tax benefit, liability if they go the LLC or S Corp or C Corp.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of the entities have a little bit more flexibility than others. And just off the top of my head, I believe it's an LLC. If you file as an LLC, you can still, if you set up an LLC, you can still file as an S Corp to get corporate tax benefits, but it's trying to figure out what works best, obviously, for each individual business.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love, just like we were kind of talking about before I kicked off our call, when you're a single mom, or when you're even a mom, when you first start an online business, most likely you start it small, right? Like it takes it a little bit before it really launches to a point where you're making, the money's really coming in a more passive standpoint, which is just the trajectory of having an online business. It's what it comes with. But when we first start off, we're just trying to validate the idea, see if it really has legs. And then it starts making money. And obviously it's just making a little bit of money. And then you're making more money, And so for the viewers out there, they may think, oh, well, I don't even have a business yet. But ideally, and especially if you use the resources and coaches that we're offering at Single Mom's Guide to Life, ideally your business will go to the multiple six figures. And now you're talking, now you need... And I just don't want it to get to multiple six figures and them to be like, wow, I didn't know what I didn't know, So it's like, that's why I'm so kind of eating up what you're saying, because it's like, now's the time to start thinking about that, or now's the time to start putting in some triggers for, okay, now I need to, my business is at this point where I'm making enough money that I need to start making sure I'm legally and protected for taxes and for, because taxes are killer, if you don't even plan for that, nothing, you're like, oh, I had no idea, this was just a side business at one time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So just, I just wanted to kind of highlight that, because you think, oh, I don't need it. I don't need to think about that. But it's like, even if you're just starting a business or you just have a side hustle, very quickly, you're going to need to start getting smart. And as women, I think a lot of times as women, we don't like to get nitty gritty with tax stuff and assets. And it's like, but you know what? Especially if you're a single mom, like, you've got to be able to manage your money. You've got to be able to own it, because you're making it and you're delegating it out. So it's really, really important to honor your money and your business and your hard work by being smart about your business. So
100%. Yeah. And, it's funny because people, don't realize how quickly you can go from this little like mom and pop or side hustle to a 6-figure, literally overnight. Or time flies by and you're like, oh, I'll get to it. And then you get to it, but it's past the 6-figure mark, and now you're being sued and someone's coming after your money. Mm-hmm. And then it's too late. Not too late, but you have to backtrack a lot and spend a lot more than if you just took preventative steps from when, you were just like a little seedling. And to the tree type of a thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love the analogy too of seedling, because that's what it is. It's like, and it is, online business is actually, and I'll plug myself again. If you use the coaches and resources that I'm working so freaking hard to provide, you should grow. Like, you will grow, and the potential for it to be very quick, very fast, almost like a weekly thing is there. And so I just want it to be in their head that, like, okay, I didn't think that was going to take off, but it took off. So now let me protect my assets, because there's one income when you're a single mom, it's you or it's not there. So if you lose it off of some, oversight that's why I'm like, no, protect yourself.
Yeah.
Be smart about your business, because this is not only your freedom, but it's your livelihood for your children,
Yeah.
And like you said, legacy, this is what, ideally, if we build it to a place and we're investing in other things, this is what we're passing on to our children. So it's super, super, super important that we find somebody like you, that can help us get smart and get real intimate with these things that a lot of times women, we don't want to address, we don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But, once you get into the mindset that you're going to be wealthy and that this is the stuff we need to talk about, this is where our conversation needs to be.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, you were saying like, oh, it's not that big. It doesn't, I don't need to worry about it. People say the same thing about their estate. And it's like, if you have kids, you have an estate, you need some type of plan in place, it may not seem that big. You may not feel like you're a millionaire, but again, if you have this business and it jumps to overnight, and then you have cousins coming in from who knows where, and, people trying to get your kids or get to your assets, your home, your property, whatever it is. And so it's just kind of protecting all of it so that it's all safe and secure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At like at the starting stage or early on.
Right. Well, and just very quickly, as a single mom, my vision for all single moms and my vision for myself is obviously to have a few different revenue streams, right? Like, you want to be super smart and have few different revenue streams. And so in being smart about that, obviously we want to protect all of those, So I just want to make it clear that, like, I'm elevating the vision from just being a single mom being able to put food on the table. Like, that's bare minimum, you know what I mean? And I do have products and resources to help you do that, because I've been there. But once we get there, it's time to take it up a notch. Now you need to start thinking about what your side hustle is going to be. What's your next stream, your next stream of revenue? Like, what's it going to be? And now we need to start talking about passive streams of revenue. But in that, I want to be very clear that that's what my organization is about. It's not just about you putting food on the table. It's about you building a business and then finding a Carmen that can help you to protect that as smart as possible. It's part of what comes with doing business, but it's also part of what comes with being a smart, business owner and a smart single mom, because you've got to protect, like you said, your legacies. You've got to protect that. So I'll let you.
Yeah. So that was kind of, the building your business, protecting your assets. The other thing I wanted to talk about is you mentioned, setting your life, building your legacy and you're more than just a mom, you're an example, whether it's to your kids, whether it's to nieces, nephews, other moms or other women, other business owners, like you are an example. And for me, when I first started my business, or I first started the coaching part of it, 18 months ago, I wanted to make sure that I was that example for my daughter. I wanted her to be proud of me, right? I wanted her to remember me not as some mom who worked crazy hours, but that I was able to provide for her, or that, I was hardworking, but I also lived out my dream, and that and that the world is her oyster, and anything that she wants is a possibility. Like nothing is impossible, it's a matter of hard work, focus and dedication, and, she can have whatever she wants. And so when I do my coaching with moms, it's, other women, it's, what is it that we do kind of this exercise, right? It's like, we'll in kind of in line with the estate planning is, let's write your obituary if you were to die today. What would people say about you, right? And then we kind of go through some exercises and questions, and I say, okay, well, now that that's done, let's write your obituary. If you were to die 5 years from now, based on what you really want to do, and money was no issue, right? And so then they write out there, and obviously they're completely different, for the most part. And, a lot of it, I did like a vision workshop a couple weeks ago, and one of the girls was like, one of the women, she was like, I always wanted to be a beautician. I started cosmetology school, but then I needed money and I never finished. It's paid for, but I never finished school. And she was in tears, and it was just, I was like, how do we get you back there? How do we get you back to your dream and on board? She has a 3-year-old, and, they're struggling financially. And I was like, you can make it work, a little bit of time. You may have to sacrifice a little bit. But what is temporary sacrifice in exchange for, living out your dream? Isn't that worth it? And so, just, kind of what you're doing, you have, these different avenues that you're working on, and you feel so passionate about, this one guide and the coaching and the corporate coaching and whatnot, and you want to take over the, the other business. And it's like, you have to invest in yourself. Like, you're spending all this time, maybe you're sacrificing a little bit of sleep. Maybe you're sacrificing like 20 minutes, with being, with your child or whatever it is. But in the long run, they will look back and say, you know what, my mom did everything that she ever wanted. She had no regrets when she died. And that's what I want to be like.
I love that you say that we're examples, because I think that's probably the greatest calling as a mother, besides actually being a guardian and providing a safe habitat for that child. But it's that you become an example. Because whatever you do, they're going to emulate. They always say when you have children, more is caught than taught. So it's like, you can say all day long these wonderful, Abraham Lincoln quotes, but at the end of the day, they're going to do what mommy or daddy does, especially if it's a same-sex parent, if it's a daughter to a mother, they're going to emulate that, but that's one of the biggest things that kind of shifted me, is that I kind of came from that standpoint, like you do with the obituary, of what kind of woman would I want my daughter to be, right? Like, you give birth to this person and you have such lofty goals for them. But at the end of the day, unless you are achieving those lofty goals, or you're showing them how to achieve those lofty goals, and how to be resilient, how to be persistent, and how to not give up, and how to have vision and focus, you can't really have any goals for your child. You can't have any foresight for them. You can't say, hey, babe, I want you to go and achieve your goals, because you never did.
Right.
And I do recognize the privilege in being able to say that, and the privilege of being able to take a step back. But it's such an important thing to do, and then to live from that, okay, if this is what you want to be said about you, what steps do you need to take to get there, to do that?
Yeah. And doing these exercises and, some people are like, well, my dreams are like too big. And it's like, take baby steps, you don't have to cure world hunger, but if you have an elderly neighbor who doesn't have food or, doesn't have family that's visiting, why don't you take them a meal, invite them over for dinner, little steps, you may not change the world, but changing one person's lives or, feeling, the food from, that little action, fueling your soul, then that's enough. It doesn't have to be these, crazy out of this world, because I do get, still having to put food on the table and still trying to manage it. But it's like, if you wanted to take that culinary class or you wanted to learn how to paint, well, do it. Give yourself, the time to do it and make that dream happen. If it's traveling somewhere, we'll stop drinking Starbucks for, a couple months and save up and take that trip,
Right. Well, I love that you, I remember when everything kind of bottomed out for me, I don't want to call it like rock bottom. It was actually probably one of the most energetic, I'd say, times of my life, about 2.5 years ago when my daughter was young and me and her father kind of split, and he had always been kind of the finance person in the house, like he managed all the money. So when he left, the money left, and I was starving. I mean, she was eating because she was breastfeeding, but I had to find a food bank and I had to get on food stamps, and it was so shameful. It's not, I mean, like, no one goes to college to be there, right. Like no one goes and has a degree in biology and does all these great things only to find themselves in this situation. And I always thought of it, like you said, like, this is just a temporary sacrifice so that I can do this and this and this. So I thought of it that way. And one of the biggest things is I would make the meals that I'd give Naima like the majority of the meat and the sides, and then I'd put mine over salad. And so I had the best body of my life. Because I didn't eat any grains or like potatoes, like I would give that to her, but I'd throw like my chicken on top of a salad because lettuce is so super cheap. It's like 99 cents a head, Yeah. So oh my gosh, I look so good. So now, even though I can afford money, I'm like, I need to throw everything on some lettuce. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's kind of shifting the perspective of like, you can think of things in a way that's going to benefit you, or you can think of it as like, and if in your heart you're saying, I want to feed the homeless or I want to change the world, how can you start in your house? How can you start with what you have in your hands? Like if it's, what I saw the other day, it's on my Facebook, but somebody has like one of those free food cabinets, like maybe you want to build something like that at your house, where you put non-perishables and homeless people can come get it. Like there's always a way to start moving that energy in the direction of your higher vision.
Yeah.
And it's so validating because if that's your soul's calling, everything is driven for you to do that. So once you start pushing the energy a little bit, it's so validating. You'll stay up all night to do the things you love. You really will.
Yeah.
What is sleep when you're doing something that is rooted in your soul?
Exactly. So, yeah. And it's funny because people, there's a couple of things, I think the first is, like you said, shifting perspective, right? And the whole lettuce and, you're getting the best shape of your life, unintentionally, but shifting the perspective and your mindset and how you're going to deal with it. I was watching a Super Soul Sunday last night. I think it was Tony Robbins, like on demand. And he said something, what did he say? He said, you can't be grateful and angry at the same time, and you can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. So pick one. Yep. And, obviously when push comes to shove, I'm going to go with the grateful, just because by spending your time and focusing on, the anger and the fearful, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to, kind of dig a deeper hole, and you're not going to be able to get yourself out of it. Right. So focusing on, being grateful and just shifting your perspective. You're like, okay, you know what, this is a crappy situation, but here are the pros, and this is what I'm learning from it, and it's always a lesson. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, there goes the mommy brain again. I should have wrote it down.
Your self-care. You were going to tell us something about your self-care challenge.
Oh, yes, the self-care. So kind of going back, so there was a self-care challenge that I did a couple months ago, and it was, for 5 days, just 5 days, commit to 5 days. Take 15 minutes for yourself, whether it's a glass of wine, whether it's, like a mini foot massage, like I'm all for the wine. Like if I need to have a glass of wine, like that'll be my 15 minutes of self-care. But if it's doing your makeup or doing your hair, just take 15 minutes for yourself. Because for me, like if I'm working from home and I'm rushing my daughter out the door, it's easy for me just to like throw on a baseball cap, no makeup, yoga pants, and be out the door. And that's how I end up all day. But like I put on my face, I actually do my hair, you feel so much better about yourself. You're fueling your soul, and you're just re-energizing, because you need to take care of yourself, because you can't give from an empty tank. So filling yourself and nourishing yourself is so important. And so that's why I do like this 5-day challenge every once in a while. I'm like, hey guys, 15 minutes for 5 days. You can do it Monday through Friday, or if you do it, 7 days. And obviously it's really just to get into a habit and to continue. And I'm also actually going to be doing a challenge coming up, because they have a Facebook group. I think you may be a part of it. Live Your Legacy. And I have a challenge that I'm working on for, based on what, the women in the group have, suggested to me. But it's a 5 days to living a better life and building a legacy you love. And it really focuses on, the soul searching and, digging deeper. But I think, what it all comes down to is really just finding your purpose, or feeding your soul, and just knowing who you are as a woman, as a mom, as a business owner, because those are all roles that we've stepped into. We were a little girl and we grew into women, and then we either became business owners, or we became wives, or at some point we became moms, obviously, because we're all here. But those are all roles, and they all come with different responsibilities, but kind of going back to who we were before we became anything else other than a woman, and yeah, exactly. And just being in touch with that, so that kind of where your roots are, whether, you like to exercise and you've been putting it off, or you like getting dressed up and putting on makeup. But go back to that, because you'll feel so much better, and you can give so much more and be such a better mom, a better wife or partner, or, a better business owner, and you can serve your clients. So self-care is so important.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That's so right up my alley. Well, when you do your challenge, I would love to like mirror it over in our group too. So I'll just try and copy, or if you want to show up live, and I know it's Facebook Live, but if you wanted to pop in and show up and do Facebook Live, I would love to host it for our group too, because that is so important. And, I just love it. So I looking at the time, and obviously I will have to have you back. I know I talked to you a little bit about doing some of the more legal technical stuff. So we'll have you back to do that. But thank you so much. Before we sign off, tell us where we can find you. I will include the links, but if you'll just go ahead and let us know.
Sure. So I'm all over Facebook. My Facebook is just Carmen Rosas. You'll find me. My Facebook law page is Carmen Rosas Law. So if you Google Carmen Rosas Law, my Twitter, Instagram, all of my handles will come up. Carmen Rosas Law. And then my website is carmenrosaslaw.com. And so just, you can find me there. I'm all over social media, Instagram. I just started a Snapchat. Still trying to get a hold of that one.
Let me know how it goes. I mean, I want to, but I'll check back with you to see how
It's lots of my daughter, so.
That's what mine is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm following her. I just want to let you know that. 95% my daughter. Anyways, thank you so much, Carmen. So much honor and gratitude for you bringing, gracing us with your presence, words, and technical experience. And I will be in touch. I hope you come back very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.